Welcome to DansDen Live, everyone. Welcome to another Monday and another week of shenanigans. How's everyone doing? How have we been? It's been a lovely weekend, nice and relaxed. And I've been chilling, been taking it easy. I pulled out the other day. I got my VR out on Saturday because we had family round. It was really lovely. And I have forgotten completely how much fun that console actually is. Not console, you know, the thing. What's up, Abby? Hello, M-Boy. Welcome to DansDen Live. Hello. You first. Unfortunately, Abby got in there first. Abby managed to get it first. It came up first on my thing that Abby got the first comment. Fair play, M-Boy. Good try. Same time tomorrow. We'll give it another go. How are you both? How's everything going in your world? How was the weekend? What did you get up to? What's new for you? What has transpired? Hello, Dexter. It has been a while, hasn't it? Bless you. Bless your cottons. I got the VR out on Saturday because I have a PSVR, which I can't show you. It's under a box right behind me. I packed it away. But I've forgotten how much fun that is. It's really good. And I know that people like were not getting, they said that it wasn't great and it was, you know, it wasn't being invested in enough. And I was like, that doesn't sound right. Like, I think that they're investing loads in it. And I think it's a fantastic bit of kit. It's a really, really good bit of kit. Really good. So I was like, you know, what's wrong with it? Why are we not, oh my God, what is this? Why are we not doing more of this? It's expensive, I'll give them that. But mate, PSVR is so great. What did I get up to? Might sound strange, but I was looking at adoption agencies. Oh, cool. Okay, why? Just woke up, I was playing video games only. 12:04. It is indeed 12:04. Thank you, N-Boy. It is indeed. Well, it's 12:03 where I'm at. So maybe you're just like a minute behind. Ahead. Sorry, I'm a minute behind, which is fine. Dexter's here to say hello. He's had a wonderful weekend as well. Are we ready? Here we go. Dexter, a few words from you, Councilman Dexter. Do you want to speak into the camera, maybe? Do you want to? Right, I'll point it here, and then you can speak to the camera. There we go. Yeah. Can you? Yeah. Good. We all getting the points across, Dexter? We all? Yeah. We're hearing everything. Fantastic. No, mate. No, thank you. Oh God. Once again, Dexter, sabotage. What was happening there? Oh, my connection's unstable. Hang on a moment, everyone. Bear with us a moment. I just had a message out saying the connection was unstable. So let me just quickly connection. What? Oh, I probably buffered for a while. Went unstable. There. Yeah. There we go. I'm back. I know I'm lagging. It's a bit. I might have missed a few comments, by the way. So if you've said something in the last minute or so, please say it again. Repeat for me one time. So that I know what you said, because otherwise it's going to be gone into the ether forever. I'm going to jump into the live myself. Turn that down, make sure. Oh, they would like them to match them with people that they have the same color of culture, or at least have a relative. That's interesting. It makes sense. I didn't know that like adoption agencies like specifically did that. Well, that's a really interesting conversation. Yes and no, not really. In fact, it's almost appropriate in that the way that I see it is there can be an issue. Oh, go away. This program's trying to open in my window and it's blocking my view. You and your nails again, mate. They're doing it. It's not. No, that's not discriminatory. That's not discriminatory at all. That wouldn't be counted as. And I want to point out that I think there needs to be a greater understanding. And I'm not obviously speaking to you, Abby. I'm talking about the thing in general. I've just listened to a podcast on this exact thing. Is that basically people nowadays? There's been a history of discrimination, right, against race, ethnicity, against sexuality, all these sorts of things. And now we're getting into the area where people think where the moment they've been treated unfairly or some rule has changed and identity is involved in it, it's immediately discriminatory and it's racist and it's da-da-da. And it shows that there's not this understanding of what discriminatory actually is. right? Now, the reason this would be put in place is actually because of discrimination itself and because of, let's say, racism or lack of social awareness. The reason I would see an adoption agency do this is because you could have a family, a straight family, let's say a straight Christian family who adopts a child. Now, for whatever reason, that child grows up, for whatever reason, let's say that child's born gay, but they don't know that and they're not able to identify with that later. Now, if you've got this family with this very strong Christian values, who's otherwise are like perfectly fit to be parents, perfectly fine, everything's great. What happens then is that adopted child grows up in an environment where actually they cannot actually truly be happy. They cannot really live in a comfortable environment where they are going to be nurtured, right? And the same you could put for, let's say, if you had a white family who adopted an Asian child or black child, would that white family really have the cultural language, cultural understanding, cultural etiquette in order to raise that child appropriately in accordance with their experiences of this world? Because what can happen is you can have children who are grown up void of the sense of identity, void of their sense of belonging, based on their ethnicity, based on their background, their heritage, which they absolutely will want to look into because that's something that will be tied to them. And what adoption agencies used to do was go, right, you have a wonderful home, there you go, here's the child, off you go. But the discriminatory behavior behind that is the lack of understanding behind what a person can be and how to truly nurture that person in that. So let's say, even if you were a parent, I mean, let's put it the other way. Let's say I myself, like Black Caribbean mixed, right, decide to adopt a child who was of German descent, right? White German descent. And they wanted to understand their heritage, their history. Now, of course, if I were to say, oh, we're all the same, we're all from the same place and we're all the same and we're all human beings at the end of the day, and would that mean that person felt like they were truly getting the information they deserved in order to feel content with their heritage and their background? Or would it take for me to be the kind of parent to go, either I've already learned about that, let me teach you about that, or of course, I'm a person of German descent myself, or I have the fortitude to say, I don't know, let's explore it together. Let me allow you to explore that journey and let's go through it. Let's learn. And I think it's really making sure that, because bear in mind, the adoptive process, and pardon me, if anyone in here is adopted, please correct me if I've said anything wrong. I'll put up a little trigger warning in case I say something which I don't intend to be, harmful or insensitive, that I could do because I'm not fully versed in this. But being adopted as a child is a big deal. It's a really, really, really big deal. And what breaks my heart is that some children can go through this process. They can be in foster care or whatever for their whole life and never be adopted. Never. Right? So already you can imagine the emotional scarring that takes place with that. The kind of sense of being abandoned, isolated and so on and so forth. It's really, really emotionally damning. Right? And then for them to be picked up by a family that actually might make them feel even more isolated, even though they're with people, that you could say that's worse because you're with people and you feel isolated. So it's a decision that's kind of saying, let's make sure that when these children are adopted, they're adopted into families that really, really are going to know how to look after them. I don't actually fully agree with the decision, by the way. I think it's certainly a policy that needs to be put into place. I think it's something that definitely needs to be considered. Definitely, without question. But I don't think it's something that wants to be like, you have to be white to adopt a white baby. You have to be black to adopt a black baby. Because actually that discrimination would be even worse because technically that might lead to a lot less, let's say, black and brown children being adopted, to be honest, because they're less desirable as adopted children. And there's children who have lifelong disabilities, deafness, blindness, etc. Then there's being atypical. And this isn't a scale, by the way. This is just, across a board. And it just puts it in a situation of like, it makes it so much harder. Whereas just like you see, you don't see the problem if you're willing to try and educate yourself about it and embrace it. And that's the thing. So I think before you even go into the adoption phase, you would need to demonstrate that you are actually learning about it and you are actually doing it already. They wouldn't take your word for it and go, yeah, okay, you said you would, cool, here's a child. They would want to see that you have a history of it and that you've already done that work. So yeah. Sorry, Envoy, I did see your comment when you went on YouTube, saw a notification. And woo! I'm live. Here I am. Please weigh in, Enboy, if you have any thoughts on this, by the way. But it's really, really important. Adoption is not just some altruistic, we're going to adopt a child because the child's in need. You want to make sure you have the fortitude to, be able to really look after that child properly and raise them properly. So that's what you're thinking. What happens if there was a mixed race child and this white couple wanted to adopt them, but the company denied them? It would only, I think, based on my understanding, the only reason a household would not be worthy, and I don't actually know what the rule sets are, but I think you would need to demonstrate that you were able to, and this is why fostering is important as well, although it's also questionable and kind of a bit like, you have to ask the question, is it better for a child to be adopted into an unstable home where it won't be nourished, or to be not adopted at all? And that's something you can't answer because that would be down to the individual child. Maybe they won't mind actually just having a family, right? Maybe they just want a family. They don't care whether they love them or not. They just want to have some company, a consistent bed to sleep in. Do you know what I mean? So they're not constantly like being fostered by them and them and them and them moving around, and they don't feel like they have a home or a belonging or stability. It's horrible. But yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Thanks, Enboy. I appreciate it. So I guess, Enboy, you understand what adoption is about. And so we're just talking about the basically the complications in adoption and how it's I'm not saying, Abby, this is what you're saying. I do get what you're saying. Yeah. The challenge being that sometimes it's beneficial for a child to be adopted into a household that is reflective of what the child wants to see. So it's kind of a representation. So therefore, for example, I'm mixed race, and it might be better if I'm adopted by mixed race parents. And then also, not necessarily because I'm mixed race, that doesn't mean I'm going to be healthily raised in a mixed race household. I could be raised just as well in a white household, in an all black household. But it really comes down to how that household looks and feels, and how responsible the parents or parent is, and the stability of their work, their emotional stability, their ability to communicate, their ability to be emotionally agile and emotionally intelligent. Because I've no doubt that fostering a child is so complicated, because there are so many things that can go unsaid, so many things that could go beneath the radar, and so many things that probably are unheard of or unseen in that process, that people might think, I'll look after them, I'll show them love, everything's fine. No, that's not it. That's not what you need at all. The child does not need a hug and a bed to sleep on, and that's it, and they'll be fine. They may need a lot more than that. And so it's making sure the household has the fortitude and the understanding that that's the case. I've heard about some of the tests that people have done for adoption agencies, and there'll be some of the hardest tests you do. Like, they go really deep into your personal life. They ask you things that you have not asked yourself ever in your life, that you're like, wow, I really have to think about that. Like, oh my God. Because they need to know. They need to know that you're going to be a good person for them to adopt and foster, which I think is, there you go. Okay. So it's really complicated. I feel like a child wants to know that they are staying for good, not that it's just a bed to sleep in and a roof over their head, like a homeless accommodation. Surely if someone looked at the child's profile with different ethnicity, the social worker would often offer them books based on the child's culture and other things. Yeah. The thing is, it's a dangerous road, because also a child can grow up to also go, am I not more than my identity? Right? Yes, it's lovely that I have books that have, LGBT or black representation in it, or Asian representation in it, or, anything like that. But also a child might eventually grow up and go, I'm not just a black guy. I'm not just an LGBT person. I am not just an Asian person. I'm not just a person with autism. I'm also a human being. So maybe don't, pigeonhole me down into just being these things, and let me also be human while knowing that this is also a part of me. But I also want to play with other kids and experience the things that other kids experience, and so on and so on. What I'm wondering is, as well, what I'm curious about is whether or not this agency has explicitly said we will only adopt these children into these families, or whether it's either part of their policy to consider that, because that would make a lot of sense. That would make so much sense, and I'd be totally fine with that if it was part of just the process of going, do you understand the child's culture, ethnicity, background? How much are you willing to learn about it? How far are you willing to go into this for their sake? You know, yeah, like that. How much of an environment are you willing to foster for them to make them feel safe and at home? Because that's the point. And considering those things, because I don't think back in the day those things were fully considered in agencies, in adoption agencies. I don't think they were. And it was just like, you're a child, you're an adult, you have a house and a roof, put the child in there, everything's going to be fine. But of course, they wouldn't do certain health checks and certain things. So I know for a fact, for example, as a really basic example, I know that there were stories back in the day where people who adopted and fostered children were actually child sex predators. They were not good people by any stretch, but because they could have an air of, I have a house, I have a job, I have stability here, that was all that was needed, and therefore the children could be put into those homes. But, you know, over time, they're like, yeah, this isn't it, this isn't working, we need to change the rules, we need to make this harder for people to do this, you know? Paperwork, maybe mini tests so the social worker can see someone serious and are willing to embrace things. It said we need adoptive families who have the same ethnicity and extended families from the same. Well, let me. Can I have a look at this? And I'm believing you that it says this. I'm actually going to copy that. Hang on, because this sounds. I'm really looking into this and looking about it, because this is genuinely really interesting. And what I think they're looking for in that, what I'm getting is that sounds like something extra they're asking for. I have a feeling. I don't think that that's their whole model. I think that's actually what they're asking for, but I don't know. What website is it? Give it to me, because I'm really interested about this stuff. Because I actually still would like to adopt when I'm older. I still would like to adopt. I'd like to foster. But the thing is, I know that it's really, really hard. I know it's really hard, harder than your own children. It's really hard. It's such a challenge and such a test. Even before you begin fostering or adopting, the test they put you through. Yeah. Thames Valley. So hang on. Lots of families have the same ethnicity, members from the same heritage. Oh wait, hang on. I think they're looking for case studies, aren't they? I googled that phrase and it didn't come up. But hang on. Thames Valley. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I've got it. Okay, thank you. Right, let me see. Yep, okay. Something on children. Okay. Oh, here we go. Yes, I see it. Ethnic minority children. Adopt Thames Valley have children for adoption who are not from a white British background. They are often dual heritage children with white British and African Caribbean or Asian heritage. It is important. Here we go. It is important that their own cultural background is promoted and nurtured. So we need adoptive families who have the same ethnicity or who have extended family members from the same ethnic heritage. So what? Yeah, okay, I get it. So actually, in a way, it's weird because I'm still like, I'm still a little bit. So yeah, fair enough. I don't know. I don't think that's discriminatory. It sounds it. You're absolutely fair to ask and question this, to be honest, Ian. I think it's great that you did. From my experience, I think this is very important, actually. I think this is very important. And this is coming from someone who is raised predominantly in a homogenous space, ethnicity-wise. I didn't grow up around people who looked like me and had a background like me. And actually, that really messed me up. It really didn't. It really wasn't healthy for me at all. At all. It wasn't good. So the fact that these people are saying you don't have to be in the family, but they have to be people who are an extension, at least like an auntie, uncle, grandfather, something like that. Or, you know, I guess great uncle, cousin, something like that would be beneficial. That would be great. because I think it's taking someone completely out of their own cultural background and ethnicity that could actually really wash away from exactly how connected and belonging they feel. And again, you could put it in the same way in like, again, in another vein, I'll read your comment as well, Enboy. I will get to that. When you put it in the same vein as, let's say you were adopted into a family, let's say that was, you are a straight white girl and you're put in a family where they're all white, but they're all men, like two dads. There's two dads, uncles only. Your grandmother's passed away. Your mother's not available. The mother's not available. Two dads, all brothers. You're just around guys. Now, what impact do you feel that would have on your sense of being a woman? What do you think what impact that would have on maybe any sense of femininity you may want in your character and your person? How do you explore that? How do you feel like you grow as the person you truly want to be without that representation? Do you know what I mean? I think it's fair to say that it sounds discriminative, but actually it's ironic because it's anti-discriminatory. It's anti-blurring the lines of understanding the environment a person would need in order to feel truly safe and at home, and how they are wanting to be represented and how they want to see themselves in the world. So actually, I totally agree with what they're saying, what they're trying to do, because at least they're not saying it has to be the immediate family. They're saying it's got to be extended family. And I think even then they'd question like, oh, our best friends are black, right? Or our best friends are Asian. Because I think they would have to then go, right, your best friends, how often do you hang out? How often do you talk? How many times have you been? And I know this is a question. How many times have you been to the country in which your child is from, right? How many times have you been there? Do you want to go there? Why would you want to go? What would you want to see? What books have you read about it? What films have you watched that's in the background? What music do you listen? They would want to know, how involved in this culture are you, which would really demonstrate the basics of how appropriate a person are you to hire these people or to adopt this child. Sorry, because this is exactly the work that I do inside of this. Sorry, like, yeah, how appropriate are you to be the parent of this child? Because if they turn around to you one day, and am I lagging again? It's because I've also got the stream running on my phone. I'm going to turn that off. Hang on. Because if they turn around one day and they say, Mum, Dad, I want to learn all about my Asian heritage, my Asian background. I want to learn all about where I came from. I want to learn about my history. Let me know if I've come back. And you can't do anything about it. You don't know where to start. You don't know what to do. You're going to ruin it. You're going to ruin their sense of belonging. You're going to ruin their sense of being nurtured and looked after. And they're going to go out on their own, effectively. So, yeah, it's definitely one worth looking out for. So it's anti-discriminatory, not discriminatory. That's not the one, for sure. Ooh. You can hear me a bit. Okay, cool. All right then. I'm surprised siblings do not get adopted together. Apparently no one really wants siblings from. No, you're kidding. Really? That's gross. That is gross. How can you separate? I couldn't do that. I could not do that. I don't know who makes that decision, whether it's a social worker or not, but I could not do that. I could not separate them from someone else. Abby, am I lagging for you as well? Am I lagging for you? Hang on. Because I hate to say it, Enboy, it might be on your side because I don't know if Abby can hear me clearly at all. I've lost quite a few viewers, so it might be that I am actually lagging. I unlagged. Okay, people are kind of leaving and coming back in. Try it, leave and come back in and see what happens. Yeah. So, Enboy. So I want to make read a comment here that you said, we're all the same. The skin tone doesn't matter. It's just skin. We're all the same. It doesn't matter if you're gay. We're the same. Enboy, yeah, there's absolutely truth in that. You're right. We are all human beings. Absolutely. The one thing I would say, Enboy, is that you and I, that means that you and I are the same, right? At the bare bones of it, yes, we're both human beings. The challenge behind that is that while you and I are both human beings, you and I are very different, perhaps, right? And we can start with the simple fact that you love Fortnite and I do not. You love Minecraft and I do not. You spend more time playing video games than I do. A little bit jealous, not gonna lie. But you do. Your life is going to be different from mine because of where you grew up. Maybe even some of the things that your parents taught you that my parents didn't teach me. And my parents have taught me things that your parents didn't teach you. So while you and I are the same, what our characteristics may tell us is that actually we are still different. We have our differences. And we can even go as far as what I want to do in my life is not necessarily what you would want to do in your life. And what you would want to do in your life may not be what I want to do in my life. And so if we were to say that we both had, let's say, the same parents, Envoy, let's say you and I were brothers, then actually our parents would have to treat us differently so that I could feel happy knowing that I was supported, getting the things I wanted to get in my life. And you would have to feel supported, getting the things that you would need to get your life, which means our parents couldn't necessarily parent us the same because we want different things growing up. And again, we might end up going to different schools or different colleges or different universities that again would give us different experiences of the world. I could go to university and find myself really lonely and find myself like with social anxiety, and I can get really nervous and then not get a good understanding of how to make friends. You could go to university, have a great time, make loads of friends, and you wouldn't have that fear of people. You would love people, you talk to them all the time. Now, then when we hang out as brothers, suddenly I'm scared of everyone and you love everyone, right? Yeah, exactly. No, I get what you're saying. So what I'm saying is that when it comes to adopting children, unfortunately, thinking that we're all the same is good, but it needs to be more complicated than that. We have to be more sophisticated to be able to go, yes, we are all the same. This is still a human being. This is still a human being that I'm raising. This is still a human being I'm looking after. But I need to know this human being personally in order to be able to raise them in the best way that they feel belonging. Because let's say if your parents raised you the way I wanted to be raised, you would probably not be very happy with the way your parents raised you. Maybe, I don't know. Does that make sense? So we are all people. I agree. I'm basically agreeing with you. And then from there, adding on top of that, yes, and, right? Yeah. So you're absolutely right. I agree with you. We are all people and we need to remember that. And then also understand that we also have our differences, and that's okay. That is absolutely fine. Because again, like everything I said there, and boy, you and I could be very different in what we believe is, right or wrong or left or up or down or whatever. But ultimately, you can still be here talking to me and I can still be here talking to you because we're still people, right? And we can still enjoy ourselves in a live stream, and that's okay. We can do that. And it's great. It's a beautiful thing about us. No, I couldn't separate siblings at all. And yeah, you do. I think that's it. When you're adopting a child, I don't know what the first step would be, but I think it would be a case of personally, I think if you're adopting a child, actually what you want to be able to do is foster an environment, first of all, where you can be open to anything, unless you have a specific idea of what kind of child you want to adopt, right? And people will make a controversial choice, and I think this is fair, that they don't want to adopt, let's say, a child who has sight challenges, right? Who can't see very well. Not because they think that, there's something really wrong with it, but because maybe they don't have the emotional stability or the foundation to develop a child with those challenges, right? And they own up and go, look, we literally don't feel we could deal with that. We don't feel we could do that. And actually, it's better for the child if we do not adopt them, because we would ruin that child trying to work really hard, knowing that we couldn't do it. It would be worse for the child, right? So some children will openly say, I do not want a child for this reason, that reason. And then it does get into the awkward circumstances where actually some people will not want adopted children from certain ethnic backgrounds because they simply will not agree with the value base. They won't agree with understanding. They won't want to understand. They'll feel it's been a lot of work, yada. And in a way, as much as that's not a great excuse, I'm thinking, good. Don't adopt that child. Do not adopt that child. Leave that child where they are, because you will do more harm trying to raise a child without the understanding, without the education, without the knowledge, without the open-mindedness to explore it fully, than you would if you thought, well, you know, a child's a child. I'm gonna adopt them. So yeah, I think it's important that you definitely do question that part. Definitely. Agreed. I think yes, very much. I agree. On. Huh. Okay. Noted. 6 months later, more things. Slowly getting introduced to child, such as seeing pictures of videos. Yeah, exactly. Do you know? And also, so the reason this is so interesting. You spoke about this. You know, I told you about a TV show I've been watching. I don't know if you heard me talk about this. There's a TV show I'm watching, a series on Amazon called This Is Us, and I told you it's a beautiful show where people connect and they grow and they have healthy relationships and yada yada yada. And it's actually now it's gotten very serious. Like, it's not drama, like for the sake of drama, but it feels very still very real, very visceral, but also it all makes sense as the drama unfolds. It's not randomly popped out of nowhere. It's like, that makes sense that that's happening actually because of behavior that's been persistent over time, you know? And actually one of the families in the show do adopt a child. And I don't think they give full credit to how that adoptive process looks. Hang on, let me just see if someone's written a thing on this. This Is Us adoption. Let's see if they've done it well. Here we go. This Is Us adoption. I'm gonna rate because they do a whole bit. There's a whole bit done on it. And I just want to see what someone has written this. So, Adoptions with Love blog. Okay. Hang on. Is there what else is there? Right. I'm just gonna read this. I'm gonna see if I can get your comments up at the same time so I'm not missing out on them as they come through. So wait a minute. Let me just cover these. Then finally meet them. Probably best to give them something like a comfort blanket or teddy if they're younger, so they can bond, and then the courts and the paperwork. Yeah. And you watch a video called Dan's Live. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think, I don't know the full process. In fact, we can look at. Let's look at that together as well. In fact, I'm going to look at that first. The adoption process. Let's actually look at how it sounds, because I'm pretty sure it's pretty intense. So the adoption process. Let's go with first for adoption. Then there's a child adoption on the .gov website. Right, to be adopted, a child must be under the age of 18 when the adoption application is made, and not be or have never been married or in a civil partnership. Interesting. The child's both parents normally have to agree consent to the adoption, unless A, they cannot be found, B, they're incapable of giving consent, for example, due to a mental disability, or C, the child would be put at risk if they were not adopted. Who can adopt a child? Right. You may be able to adopt a child if you're age 21 or over. There's no upper age limit, which my bias kicks in immediately right there. Yeah, I imagine it's extremely intense and very, very stressful for sure. They can be single, married, in a civil partnership, an unmarried couple, so same sex or opposite sex, the partner of a child's parent. Oh, the partner of the child's parent. Oh, so I see. So that's weird. Okay. There are different rules for private adoptions and adoptions of looked after children. Right. Living in the UK, you do not have to be a British citizen to adopt a child, but you or your partner, if you're a couple, must have a fixed and permanent home in the UK, Channel Islands or Isle of Man. You or your partner, if you're a couple, must have lived in the UK for at least 1 year before you begin the process. That's just, my God, that's just stage one. Right. Early stages. Local council. So contact the agency. They'll send you information. The agency will arrange to meet you. If you and the agency agree to carry on, they'll send you an application form. Next, the assessment. Invite you to a series of preparation classes. These are normally held locally and give advice on the effect adoption may have on you. So immediately, it's not about the child. It's literally, you heads up, warning, before you go forward, just want to let you know. I love it. This is how challenging this is. It's not just straightforward. I genuinely wish that people would do this. Exactly, on you. Exactly. You know what I mean? This is the impact adoption is going to have on you. I know you're here to be like, oh, I just want to save a child. No. All right, cool. Okay, this is what's going to happen to you. This is what's going to happen to you now. I love it. Okay. So arrange for the social worker to visit you on several occasions to carry out an assessment. This is to check you're suitable to become an adoptive parent. Arrange a police check. There we go. You will not be allowed to adopt if you or an adult member of your family have been convicted of a serious offense, for example, against the child. Duh. And that, of course, that rule definitely would have been brought in after some stuff went down. We'll put you through hell first to decide whether you're worthy. Ask you to provide the names of 3 referees who will give you personal reference. One of your referees can be a relative. Arrange for you to have a full medical examination. So already, this is just step 1, right? Are you ready for this, right? The social worker is going to visit you randomly several occasions. You'll have a police check. You'll need to get 3 referees, and this is it. And this is the thing. I actually understand. So this is going to get a bit adult, but just to give you an idea of how intense this is, I don't know if this is in the UK, but I know it's in the US. Your friends will be asked about your sex life. If you are applying to be an adopted parent, your friends apparently will be asked questions around the last time you argued, around the things that you talk about with them, around your sex life, around your ability to be a friend. They'll ask you seriously personal questions about you and how much they know. Because obviously it's a test of, how open are you, as well as these are the people you've asked to be a referee. How much do you really know about them? Because apparently you're close enough to them to be refereed as an adopted parent. You know what I mean? What's a sex life? Oh God. Oh Jesus. All I'll say, boy, is it's just the experience of a person's, I really got to check who I'm talking to here. It's the experience of your level of intimacy with a partner. And it's basically, it can either be good or bad. So it's important that you're communicative with your partner, that you're happy and they're happy in terms of, when I say intimacy, I mean in terms of, are you comfortable holding hands? Are you comfortable just hugging? Just those sorts of things, right? Life, not live. Not going live, as you like, Dan. Yeah. Sex life. And those sorts of things, right? How often do you get close with your partner where it's just you and you're really practicing that sense of love and care and affection you have for them? And that's romantic partners, okay? Not necessarily, you don't have that with your family. You have it with someone who's not your family member. Okay. Abby, did I do okay? Yeah. Thanks, Envoy. Yeah. I hope that makes sense, though. I don't want to put it in a way that's, inappropriate. But yeah, I'm not saying anymore. We're not going to talk about anymore. We'll be done. How do you think I did there, Abby? Well, yep. Okay, cool. Thank you. Good. Thank you. All right. So the social worker will send the assessment report to the independent adoption panel. This is a group of people. Thank you. Yep. Envoy, I thought so. Okay. So, yep. Noted. All right. The panel will make a recommendation to the adoption agency based on your assessment. You can go along to ask questions and answer any questions the panel has. The adoption panel will send their recommendation to the agency, which will then decide whether you're suitable to adopt a child. Okay? If you can adopt a child, once your agency, if you can, not when, if you've done all of this and everything's fine, great. But if, so once your agency decides you can, they'll begin the process of finding a child. The agency will explain the process works and how you can be involved. If you don't get accepted, you can disagree and you can challenge their decision by writing them apply to the independent review mechanism. There we go. My God. Then there's applying for an adoption court order. No, that's fine. And boy, I appreciate it. It's okay. Well, don't worry, because eventually that information you have now, Enboy, will be perfectly normal. You'll be comfortable again, and you'll be fine with it. You just know that you now have information. You don't need to do anything with it right now. You don't need to do anything with that information right now. Just it's going to get normal. You'll forget you know it. You'll go back to Fortnite. You'll go back to Minecraft, back to Terraria. Life will be normal again in like 6 hours time. You will be fine. All right. You just have information that you don't know what to do with right now, and that's okay. At my age, I also have that, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't know, I don't want to know that right now. I'm not ready for that information, but I know it now. That's it. I may not want to know it, but I know it now, and I think that will be something that I'll apply or understand later in life. But until that point, I don't need to do anything with it. I can continue living life as I do. Nothing changes. I just have new information that I don't have to do anything with right now. And that's all. All right. I know it's uncomfortable, and I'm sorry for putting you in that situation. Apologies. We will see. Yeah. To make an adoption legal, you need to apply for an adoption court order. The adoption becomes so once the order's been gone, the adoption becomes permanent. Okay. The child has the same rights as if it were your own birth child. For example, the right of inheritance. Cool. You can buy a copy of the adoption certificate. You will not get this automatically. The order also takes away parental responsibility from the child's birth parents or anyone else who has parental responsibility for the child. There we go. My God, it's this one's a little bit more concise. Here we go. So this one's 5 stages: exploration, initial checks and registration, training and assessment. This is a 4-month stage. 4-month stage of training and assessment. 4 months. You've got to go through this. Matching with the right child, which again can take a long time, and then moving in. But my God, yeah, I imagine it takes about 1.5 years, the whole thing. It's insane. It's insane. Adopting a stepchild, that's different. Adopt a child from overseas. Woo! We don't need to go into that. My God. That's just so much. So I want to watch that. I want to read this out. I'm going to read this out to you because, again, I thought this show handled adoption very, very well. I thought it did a really good well of doing it. But I actually have no idea what I'm talking about. To be honest with you, I don't actually know whether or not they did. It seemed like they did. It seemed like they were honest and open about it. But actually, there could have been some things I completely missed out. And I'm going to check right now, and I'll read it all to you and find out. Why'd you delete your happy smiley face, Enboy? I saw that. You're in a great mood. Be happy. Don't worry. Be happy. Don't worry. Be happy now. There you go. Look at him. Look at him. We love it. Sorry, I tapped that right against the microphone. Okay, here we go. What's up, Abby? Go on. You watched this on YouTube? What did you watch on YouTube? What do you mean you watched this on YouTube? Are you talking about This Is Us? What do you mean? This lady and her husband have adopted 8 children. Oh my God. 8! I don't know how they would have got around that, to be really honest with you. I have no idea. Yeah. Don't know how they would have got there. Thanks, Enboy. Oh, that's smiley faces. It's called The Gathered Nest. That'll be interesting to find out about that. It's on YouTube, you say? How long is it? Let's see. Gathered Nest. I'm not gonna play it now. Don't worry. Gathered Nest. Oh, I see. Okay, like it's a channel. Oh. How do I feel about this? How do I feel about this? Oh. Hang on. Oh. Hang on. Sorry. I'm 1 second. 1 second. I just want to. No, nothing. Nothing. Okay. No. Okay. Okay. Right. No, I'm going to leave it alone. I think I'm just looking for something that I won't find. It's fine. They've adopted 8. I mean, maybe they've ticked all the box. Maybe they are indeed a great family. Maybe they are indeed great parents, and they've demonstrated that they've been able to foster them before. They can do it again and again and again. They have a nanny, which, fair enough, I guess. Sure. Yeah. It's been 1 second. All right, N-boy, I see you. All right. There's no need for the literal, holding me to the wall there on that 1 second. Excuse me for not being literal. Amazing. They do daily vlogs on days and other things. I mean, I would be worried that I would not be able to keep an eye on them all. But that's why they have a nanny. Yeah, and I would be as well. Yeah. I think the reason I'm concerned is that the fact that they made a YouTube channel out of it, a little bit like I think that's what makes me uncomfortable. It's kind of there's a savior complex around that makes me really uncomfortable. I hope, and I'm not going to dig into it because I'm just going to find what I'm looking for, and that's not going to help me at all. I hope that they genuinely are raising those children healthy, happy, wonderful, great. I really hope they are, and I hope that's the forefront. The fact they made a YouTube channel out of it, and they're like, look at this perfect adopted family. It just feels to me a bit like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Because they've got kids from, many different backgrounds and ethnicities and stuff like that. I'm just like, do you really need to film that though? Do you need to make a YouTube channel out of it? It's just, I don't know. It just builds a savior complex in me of a bit of a show of like, look at how perfect we are. And I'm just like, the moment you put that expectation on your family in any way, shape, or form, it's a problem. It's a massive problem. The moment you start putting a performative nature of perfection on your family for the sake of public viewing, I'm like, ew. Stop it now, please. No. I hope and pray that they are still raising those children accordingly and they are being a real family behind that camera. I really, really, really hope. I hope that they're doing that, because there's something that I think that is exactly what it is. It's the fact that it's got this real layer that I'm seeing of like, oh, we've adopted children from all over the world and look at how perfect we are. Let's put it on TV. Oh, and I hate it. I think it's disgusting. But that's my projection. And it's completely my projection. I hope that those children are happy and healthy. I really do. It sort of does help you out though, because they talk about adoption in the process, how it can sometimes be difficult. Sure. There's another lady who talks about adoption on YouTube. No, I bet. Right. So you talk about that for a second, Abby. I'm going to read this article out and see if they touch on adoption well. As fans, we are already aware. This Is Us, a fictional yet tear-jerking drama, true, follows the Pearson family as they grow and evolve over the years. The show bounces between many different eras of the Pearsons' lives, from the childhood and the early days of Jack and Rebecca to the present-day lives of their 3 adult children who are starting and raising families of their own. In the series plot, we learn that Jack and Rebecca, 1980 Jack and Rebecca, are expecting triplets. One of the babies does not survive childbirth. On this fateful day, another newborn, later named Randall, is left at a nearby fire station and brought to the same hospital. And ultimately, the Pearsons decide to adopt this family as their third child, and thus begins a whirlwind story of love, growing pains, heartache, and incredible joy. Following the adoption and raising of Randall in season 1, as recapped here, explored many of the complicated and emotional elements that come with adoption, such as the self-identity conflicts that can happen as a result of closed adoption, and the effects of a closed adoption on parents and adopted parents alike. Season 2 of This Is Us studied even deeper as grown-up Randall and his wife Beth decide to foster a troubled teen in need of a loving home. These themes of adoption and foster care carried into season 3 of This Is Us, which just ended in April 2019. But this is just the beginning. Season 3 explored even more adoption themes, including the topics of infertility, IVF, and how those can affect a family. When season 3 premiered, we jump back into the story of newlyweds Kate and Toby, who are looking at to start a family at the time. After a miscarriage in season 2, Kate decides she definitely wants to have children and wants them as soon as possible. She and Toby try for several months to conceive a baby. Finally, the couple decides to move forward with IVF treatment, despite the doctor's concerns. Rebecca, an understandably concerned mum, asks Kate why she would push to carry another baby when there are many other options. Kate explains that she wants to have a biological child. She says, because I want to look at that baby in his face and I want to see Toby. I want to see myself. I want to see Dad. And I'm the only one in the family who's going to carry on a piece of Dad. This sentiment in you eventually gets back to Kevin, who's hurt, but eventually shares it with adopted brother Randall, who's crushed. As a person who has always struggled with identity and feeling like he belongs, Kate's words devastate him. Randall hears of his sister's hurtful words right after being told that he does not belong with his birth father's community. As a transracially adopted child, with 2 siblings who are biologically related to the parents, Randall has always struggled to fit in. He confronts Kate, who assures him that he does, in fact, have a piece of Dad in him. This reflects an important lesson. Family is not defined by biology. Family is defined by love. While Randall does not carry his father's genes, he carries his father's wisdom, his compassion, and his courage to do what is right. These qualities, in many ways, are more important than eye and skin color. The discussion, however, eventually leads to a sibling feud. Randall asks her about adoption and simply says, of course, Toby and I would consider adoption if it came to that. This is another hurtful phrase to Randall. To Randall, adoption is not a last resort choice. It is a choice made with love, a choice that his parents made, and a choice that he will eventually make for his family. Meanwhile, Kate is not happy with Randall for throwing adoption in her face, as she put it, when he has 2 biological children and he's never faced infertility. Kate's desire to have biological children hits very close to home for viewers who have experienced infertility. According to the CDC, infertility is a common occurrence. In fact, 12% of couples in the US struggle to get pregnant. More than 6 million women today face infertility issues, and these women are 10 times more likely to adopt children. However, infertility does not just affect women. About 9% of men ages 15 to 44 also experience fertility problems. The emotional toll that infertility takes on a person who so deeply desires to have biological children is real. The positive impact of adoption, however, is just as valuable. The honest desire for pregnancy and honoring adoption for what it is, not a second choice, are tricky concepts to exist side by side. This Is Us does an excellent job at shedding light on this sensitive and emotional subject that many hopeful parents face in their lives. Another adoption storyline that continues on season 3 of This Is Us is that of Deja, Randall and Beth's foster child. As we learn in season 2, Deja has been through a lot in her young life. She's been shuffled between abusive foster homes while also looking to reconnect with her birth mother, who is in and out of jail and unable to provide financially for her daughter. Wanting the best for Deja, her birth mother eventually relinquishes her rights and reaffirms that her birth father wants no part in raising her. While Deja feels bitter, cautious, and has resisted the love of the Pearson family, she lets down her walls after Randall calls her exceptional. This is a profound moment for young Deja, who has never been complimented so highly before. It even prompts her to sneak out of the house one day to find her birth father, tell him that she has someone who considers her exceptional, and that the only thing she wants from him is a pair of Nikes. When she returns home with the shoes for Randall, she also tells him that he can sign the adoption papers. Beth and Randall become the legal parents of Deja and provide her the safe, loving, and permanent home that she deserves, a place where she can thrive. So, yeah, This Is Us seems to cover it in a sensitive way and in an appropriate way. I was hoping they'd go into more detail on the adoption itself, but yeah, they seem to cover it pretty well, which is great. Really great, for sure. So Amy blog, she does not post any videos with her children, but instead does lists such as 6 things we wish we knew about adoption. Oh, that's good. That's good. Okay, I like that. I like that it's not about that's another thing as well. If you're going to do a video about adoption, I think it's best that you make it personal, as opposed to, I'm looking at it now. Life with an LAC child. Hang on a second. I actually don't know. A resinous substance secreted as a protective covering for the... What? No, that's not it at all. What does that mean? Oh, yes, looked after child. Okay. Who's been in the care of their local authority more than 24 hours is known as a looked after child. Okay. All right. That's cool. I like that. That's really nice. Because I think, yeah, as long as it's not so much just about the children themselves, I think that's cool. Yeah, I've seen that. That's cute. I like it. I like it. Envoy, how are you feeling? I've not heard from you for a little while. Just checking in to see if everything is landing, see if everything's sinking in nicely with you. Is that all okay? Oh, okay. You're good. What about me? I'm good. I was singing. Thank you. I'm all right. I'm okay. Thank you for asking. So yeah, that's a good topic actually. Thanks for bringing that up, Abby. I appreciate it, and thanks for coming in today. Don't know where the rest of them are. Sammy's not here. Twigsy's not here. It's weird. Right. So now I know they do not discriminate, and they may consider you. Yay! Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and also, it's not that they're not discriminatory. It's the fact that that's not discriminatory. That's the thing. That is not discriminatory at all. I think that's what's important. That's actually anti-discriminating. That's anti-discriminatory what they're doing. So it's, yeah, it doesn't even, yeah, it's not that. Hello, you. Do you want to come back up here? So what are you? I mean, are you looking to adopt? Is that what you're? Is that what you're looking at, Abby? Are you thinking I want to adopt a child? Let me go. You might. Okay, fair enough. What inspired the thought? What was it? What was it that did it for you? What made you consider this? I like that this has been something you thought about over the weekend, or maybe a bit longer than that, but it's something that's crossed your mind. I'm like, I'm going to look into this. What does it take to adopt a child? I'm coming in for the big stuff again. Here we go. He's back. He's back. Unfortunately, my arm's underneath him, so he can't lie down. He's going to try. He's going down. He's going down. He's looking at me. He's now lying on my arm. His back. He's not comfortable. I'm not sure. I think if I wanted to, I'd want to start off with younger children, and maybe I'm tad old considering taking older children. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think younger children is always better. And actually, that's another thing, is that the older a child gets, the more challenging it is to adopt, to have them adopted, because of this. There's a stigma around it. You know, the idea that if they're older, it means no one wants the child, or something really bad happens. So they're all, you know, there's the stigma is they're all messed up and it's too complicated and people are too afraid, which is why for me, I remember I wanted to adopt a long time ago, and it was off a bit of a savior complex actually a long time ago. So I did change my views on it a little bit, but initially I wanted to adopt because I was like, how dare I bring a child into this world when there are so many children out there who don't have adult parents at all? It doesn't seem right. When actually over time, actually I met my partner, who some of you spoke to recently, and I was like, actually I want a child with this person. It wasn't so much that I thought it was like how the audacity of me having a child, my own child in this world. It was actually more, I hadn't met a person who I'd wanted to raise a child with. So when I met my partner and we started getting on, I was like, I really want to raise our child with you. I want us to have our child together with you. And I was able to see the difference between it being a biological child and it being, not a biological child, but still absolutely my child for sure, without question. And so, yeah, I still definitely would want to adopt. I definitely would. Absolutely. But I want to understand more about it. And I think I would want to adopt a child that's older, maybe one that was about kind of 10, 11 years old, maybe a teenager, depending on, how it all goes. But the thing is, you don't know what you're gonna come up with. You have no idea what's gonna show up in your life. Like, it could be a 5-year-old, it could be a 6-year-old. I could just meet them and I'll be like, this child is amazing. This child is a magnificent being. I want to adopt them, for whatever reason. Heaven only knows. But yeah, you don't know. Quick question. Do I have a girlfriend? I have a partner. Yes, indeed. I do. And they came on the live. They came on the live last week. I think it was Thursday. They popped on for a moment, which was really nice. Your nails in my knee need to stop. There, it needs. Hang on, guys. 1 second. I'm just gonna move around. You can have biological children. Yeah, exactly. No, that's what I'm thinking. And yeah, every child does absolutely need a home. You're right. Every child does need a home and should have a home. I think that's it. And we could get all bleeding hearts about it, but we don't. Let's be real. We don't have the faculty to be able to adopt every single child. And people say, "Oh, if I could, I would adopt every single child." And yeah, for sure. Of course, there needs to be that that conversation with herself of, yeah, but what are you trying to do? You just because you saying I just want them to feel love. Well, actually, letting other people adopt them and like challenging people on the stigma of adoption, that can actually show that you still love them. Because the healthier conversation we have around adoption and knowing that it's not their fault and that stuff does happen to all of us, which can be unfortunate. And in some cases, it literally is a case of like, they didn't have parents from the beginning. And how is that fair? We're all handed our cards when we're born. And some of those cards can be, you have one parent, you have 3 parents, you have no parents. And that's really tough. So I think it's a case of going, do you really respect them by thinking that adopting them all is helpful? Or would you actually be the better respect for the adoption of children and people be greater if we just spoke about it as a respectable thing, as an appropriate thing, as something that isn't just a last choice, something that is a conscious decision that people make, something that is a healthy thing to do, something that is a great thing to do, not because you're saving a child, but because it's just as great as having a child that's biologically yours. It's just the same. You're still having to raise a child, you're still having to teach them things. You're still having to discipline them. You're still having to love them. You're still having to support them. You're still having to grow with them, learn from them. You're still having to do all the same things, right? And I've no doubt that there'll be a different connection between them if they came from you and if they didn't. And I lied to myself actually before when I said, I don't think I'd see the difference. I would see the difference. But in terms of the feelings I would have towards that child as my son or daughter or neither, I would still absolutely, as I would with effectively any young person who I come across, it would still be the same thing. It'd be very much the same thing. Give them time, let them talk about it, let them express themselves, learn them a little something if they're getting like little blockages, and give them time to understand things for themselves and let them figure stuff out for themselves. Yeah, and be there through the tough stuff, leaving them to learn stuff on their own and not feeling like they have to learn everything right away. Some stuff doesn't have to be learned right away. Some things can be learned later on, and that's just important. And that's not me saying I understand everything about parenting. That's just what I do know. Yeah. I think I start to feel worried if the biological parent tried to get in contact. Is one thing I worry about. Well, no, because that would be an agreement that's made, and that funny. So this is the other thing. This is covered in the show. This is really interesting. That's covered in the show. So the parent to the child, the biological parent, relinquished all right to Deja. And so Randall and Beth were the parents. They were the adopted parents by right, by law, and everything. But this was because the biological parent could not financially look after Deja. So she gave up all rights, and she gave up all rights knowing that Deja was actually really happy with Randall and Beth. So she wasn't upset so much about it, like, oh my God, she's going to be miserable. She did it because she knew that her daughter would be happy in this house. So she gave up her rights. But then she still contacted her daughter every now and then and still reached out to her daughter every now and then. And Randall and Beth had to make a decision of, are we going to allow this? And they were like, well, yeah, we have no hard feelings towards it. She should have contact with her birth mother. You know, as long as the boundaries aren't crossed, as long as Deja recognizes that the rights have been handed over, unless another conversation needs to take place. Is this child going to be looked after in this household? Are they going to feel happier and so on? If my child wanted to see their birth parents, that would all depend on, you know, why, you know, and how long for, and is it safe? Is it healthy? And that'll be a conversation I'd have to have with the social worker. I may not be able to make that call completely on my own. So even talking to my partner as well, you know, yeah, it's complicated. It's complicated. It's not like that thing. And of course, if the birth parent's trying to come back to take the child away, that becomes a court case. Because like, you gave up all rights. You were not available. You gave up all rights. You can't have the child back like that. You can't just come and get them. Would it hurt if they came back and it turns out they were absolutely fine and, you know, the child would be happier with their birth parents and everything was cool? It would hurt, but actually I think, well, okay, fine. You know, we'll still be around. We'll still be friends or a family to some degree based on how long we've looked after you. But actually, if I recognize that a child genuinely was happier and would be happier with their birth parents because their birth parents have grown, changed, developed an environment, yada, yada, fine. I probably would have a chat with my partner and go, I don't mind, because they obviously have that connection with their birth parent where that's where they feel at home. That is their biological parent. That's where they feel at home. I can't stop them, because then I'm being the abusive parent by stopping them from having something that they want. And I need to have that flexibility of my beliefs, of my thoughts, of everything to be able to allow it. You know, it's so complicated. It would be selfish. Absolutely. Yeah, if an unstable biological parent tried to get involved, you'd have to get the police involved. It would turn into a law kind of court case situation. Absolutely, without question. It would. Yeah, no, it would actually be that. I think that's it. Yeah, you'd always have that relationship. Sorry, the cat just jumped off my lap and nearly pulled the cable out again. I would have had to have stopped and started this whole thing all over again. All over again. Not my idea of a good time. Not my idea of a good time. But no, it would have been definitely would have been a challenge for sure. Adopting it's hard. It's so awkward. Excuse me, I'm just. Sorry, everyone. No. I'm not sure I've always been the caring type. Cat slapped. Yeah, exactly. He's left the room now. He's properly gone. Sorry, is there a comma there? Did you say I'm not sure, comma, I've always been this caring type? Or is that sure, I'm not sure that I have always been the caring type? Those are two different statements that mean very different things. Where's the comma? Do you see what I mean? After I'm not sure. Right, okay. Right, I'm not sure. I've always been the caring type. Yeah. Okay, cool. I figured that's what you meant. I just wanted to check because I actually what I was gonna say was if I read it just as it said there, I'm not sure I've always been the caring type, I would say that's okay. I think the thing is, what was it? Someone said to me, I remember talking about this with parenting in an episode. I don't know if you were there for that, Abby. And then, boy, if you're listening as well, this is totally valid. Being a parent doesn't always mean you have to be totally understanding and caring towards your child. I mean, you could set that precedent, right? You can certainly set that as precedent, and you don't want to let go of that completely. But you've also got to remember you're a human being as well, right? You're an adult, you're a human being, just like Boy said, we are all people, which means that we all have feelings, we all have emotions, we all have these things. Being a parent, I can imagine, is incredibly challenging. From the sounds of things, it is, and I'm looking forward to it, but I'm a little nervous about some of the things that are going to come up. I really am. I'm scared. It's a scary thing. But you've got to remember that you've got to allow yourself to get mad. You can get mad. You're allowed to get mad. Obviously, you're not allowed to let that anger take control and, you do things out of whack and misbehave and so on. Like, no. But of course, you're going to lose your temper. You can't hold it in because that makes it worse, right? You got to show your children that you can get angry. You got to show them that they've done something that's upset you. You've got to show them that their behavior impacts others, right? And you can't just do that through positive reinforcement. You've also got to show that sometimes they do things and it upsets people, right? It upsets people because if they grow up thinking that nothing they do will upset a person, then they never understand the negative consequences of their actions. Do you know what I mean? And same with discipline. Caring about someone can also look really hard on a child. If a child growing up loving sweets and chocolate and fast food, caring about that child is actually stopping them from eating so damn much of it. You know what I mean? They become careless. Exactly. So caring about them is not giving them everything they want. It's also a balance of giving them what they want as well as what they actually need, right? And I think that's where it certainly gets complicated with parenting because, of course, for example, I don't want to condition my child to believe some of the stuff that I believe, such as the ocean is terrifying. I don't want to pass that on to them because they don't even exist yet. And if I parent just as I am now, I will absolutely teach them that the ocean is a scary place. I will. Where they could have become a marine biologist who ends up like becoming a deep sea diver and wants to swim with whales and sharks and wants to explore the ocean, and they don't because it's very small. I know it's a very minute thing and stuff like that, but I'm aware that's something I could hand down to them just because I have it. So what else could you think? Like, what if someone believed that it was wrong to be gay? What if someone believed that black people are terrible? What if someone believed that video games are the worst thing that ever happened to existence? And they pass that down to their kids, trying to tell them what's right and wrong. Simple. It's done. Boop. Easy. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And next thing you know, you believe something that you believe because your parents told it to you. And God forbid your parents lie to you. So I think you've got to allow yourself your faults. You've got to allow yourself your mistakes, your difficulties, your challenges. And let your children know that you are a human being as well. So that they can also be a human being in the same right, And that's another thing. What discipline strategy would I use? Oh, I don't know. I've thought about this so much. I think the time out step for if they did something wrong and star strategy is they did something good. Yeah, I thought about the timeout step. For one, I'm never going to hit my child. Never. Not once. No, you're never going to lay a finger on him. No. I would use a variety of different things. Grounding, yes. Taking their entertainment away from them, yeah, I would actually. For certain things, absolutely. I know that young people will be like, oh, taking their phone away is so oppressive. I've actually seen some people say this. Oh, you take their PlayStation away and stuff. Absolutely. I'd take their PlayStation, their phone away from them. I absolutely would. 100%. Because the impact needs to be a matter of them understanding that they cannot get away with everything, and actually it's not something that physically harms them. It's something that causes them to think, right? So of course they'll be mad at first. They'll think that they'll call child services or whatever, I'm sure, but I think it would also be a case of you don't have a phone. You are forced to think about what you did. You're going to think about what you did that left you in a situation where you no longer have a phone. Also, in part of that, it teaches them a life without a phone as well. Same with gaming. As you guys know, a massive video gamer. I say it almost every other episode now. And my parents actually did. My parents took my PlayStation away from me. And it was an important lesson. It was an important lesson for me to learn. That was better than, getting hit, because getting hit doesn't work. Getting hit just traumatizes your child. It doesn't do anything good at all. There's no good in hitting your child whatsoever, or physically abusing them in any way, to be honest with you. Not to say that psychological abuse is any good, but it's not psychological abuse if you're doing it with good reason and you sit down. And that's the other thing. I would have to sit and explain to them why it's happening. I wouldn't just do it and go, right, this is happening, we're done. They would have to understand why that happened, so that they can make the connections between their behavior, their conduct, and the punishment. Because again, sitting them in a naughty step's all good and well, and I would do that as well. Absolutely, I'd do that. But while they're on the naughty step, do you know what you did wrong? Do you understand why you're here? Does this make sense? I want you to get this. Right? And that's it. They can have the TV in the outdoors. I don't know. See, this is another challenging point. My little brother got a phone really early on. And me and my sister were outraged, and my brother as well, my older brother, because we all got phones much later than he did. But what was real was, what was it? Hang on. Yeah. The reason so our parents had to sit us down and explain this to us, right? Why he got a phone earlier than us. And it was because people in his social group were getting phones. And for him to be the kid in the group who didn't get a phone would actually mean that he would end up being on the outside. And bear in mind, there's a huge difference in your life, as I'm sure you're aware, Abby, as to when you do have a phone and when you don't. Because when you're at home and you don't have a phone, you are not connected with whatever all your other friends are doing, right? All your other friends, you don't see it. And so they got my brother a phone so that he could also have a social life with the friends he'd already made. And so it was either, like you're saying there, phones are dangerous and so on. I mean, you've jumped to a 3-year-old. Like, yeah, no. I wouldn't. Yeah, no. That I don't think I would see. I don't know where you are seeing. Hey, Wham boy, welcome back. I don't know where you are seeing 3-year-olds walking around with phones. But I don't know, as long as it's not theirs. Like, there's a difference between them walking around with phones that their parents have that they're allowing them to play on, and phones that actually belong to them. Also, bear in mind there are other things involved in it I'll get to. But yeah, it's a complicated decision, because basically, let's say if your kid had a group of friends, 5 friends that they had at school, and those friends all were getting phones, your kid's going to be left out. Your kid's going to be socially extradited from your kid's going to be socially extradited from their friends, because their friends will be able to chat at home. Even when they're in their own homes, they'll be able to text and message each other, have a social life, where your child will be left out of it. Now, your child is left out of their friend's social life. They get pushed away. They lose their friends. They have to deal with that. And they'll feel that. They'll probably won't know exactly why, but they'll know why, because they're missing out. Do you know what I mean? You'd organize them meetups with their friends. Okay. I mean, sure. Then you're also got to think, and I'm only saying this to get you to understand why it becomes a complicated situation. Bear in mind, I'm talking about 10 to 12 years old. I'm not talking about 5-year-olds, right? And I'm still going to touch on this younger children having phones being a no-go, because I agree, but there's complications that need to be considered as to why a young child would have a phone. You've got to understand that, right? That's got to be understood. There's going to be reasons as to why a young child will have a phone. So like 10 and 12 years old, yeah, that's important. Also, you being in control of their social life is, I'm just going to say, I understand why you would do that, but that's, yeah, massively unhealthy. That's not a good look. That's not it. If they need to be able to feel like they have a life away from their parents. And if you're involved in their social life in so much as, being arrangement, they're also not learning how to make decisions for themselves, certainly with regards to their friends. So they would need to. And so, yeah, so with the younger kids having phones, here's the thing with that. Now, hey, Abyssal, what's up? How's it going? Welcome to the live stream. You've got 10 minutes left. I'm going to go in 10 minutes, unfortunately, but welcome still. Glad to see you here. When they're 3 to 9, I would organize things with their parents. I think a lot of other people would do that, though. I think maybe you're blowing this out of proportion if you've seen a couple of kids walking around with phones. Because bear in mind, you could ask, did those phones belong to those 3-year-olds? Did they own the phones? And how do you know? Did they belong to them, or were they just chatting on the phone because their parents had given them the phone to talk to their mammy or pappy or grandparent or uncle or whatever? That's different, right? Did they actually, was it their phone? Was it their property? That's what I'm questioning. Because there's a difference between them having the phone. Bear in mind, we're already at this stage, right? You'll see a lot of parents who use their tablets to put videos on where their kids are in public places, at restaurants and stuff, so they can just, you put on Watch Peppa Pig. Do you know what I mean? How do you know it was theirs? I'm just really curious, and I'm always going to question. That's what I do. But yeah, it was theirs. Because again, you're looking at a situation where that child might do, and this is where it just takes that understanding. You don't often see kids who are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old with phones, right? And there's a reason for that, for exactly what you're saying, because it's not necessary and it's unsafe, right? A parent would have to do that. Number one, a lot of phones have a child safety lock on them. A lot of phones have a parental lock. And so when you buy a phone for a child, you would be able to have that. Okay, you asked and they said, yeah, fine. Okay. They would probably have to have that phone because of tracking, right? Because maybe that child is not always in the supervision of their parent or guardian. That child's life could be here, there, and everywhere for whatever reason. And so having a phone means that the parent can constantly at least know where the child is and know to keep in touch with that child and how, right? That child could also need that phone for certain medical reasons, for personal reasons, right? Organization. And that's the thing. Yeah, I totally get why you'd ask them to have that phone, but I think you want to be careful because you don't know why they would need a phone. Your judgment, which is perfectly reasonable, you see a young person with a phone, you're like, hey, why have you got a phone? And they've told you, or, is that your phone? And they're like, yeah, and you might be mad, like, they shouldn't have phones, But they might have a really perfectly good, legitimate reason to actually have a mobile phone at a young age, genuinely. They really might. And we don't know. We really don't know. Phones are a tracking device. Phones are a way to stay in touch with immediacy. Phones are a way for people to be able to organize their life. Do you know what I mean? They say that children need them. Who's they? What are you talking about? Who's they? Sorry, Abyssal, you're here. We're just talking about having young people and having phones, whether or not they should. No idea. Some parents say all kids have phones to keep in contact on social life. Well, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And that's exactly like I said. By the way, I'm not disagreeing with you. This is the thing, right? Because bear in mind, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You have a value of young people should not have phones, right? That's where you're coming from. That's it. Now, in order to be a parent, and I think in order to hold a healthy value of parenting, right? The fact of the matter is, as we get older, it's going to become probably more normal for young kids to have phones of some sort. And that could be a case of being a tracking device. It could be one of those old, it might not be a smartphone. It could just be one of those old crappy phones, right? But it could be important. Let's say your kid goes to a school where all their friends have phones and also they have to walk, let's say, and you have a job where you cannot pick them up. These are all theoreticals, right, that need to be considered. There could be a scenario where your child needs to have a phone and you would have to get flexible on that, right? They might want a phone because maybe if one person has a phone and you don't and your child doesn't, fine. Like, if one person. But if suddenly, let's say 4 friends that your child has out of 6 have phones, and then another two start to get, if they all start to get phones, you've really got to consider, you really have to consider the impact it's going to have on that child's life. And that's again where this parenting thing comes into play, where you're like, actually, this is about what you believe, right? This is about what you believe is right. This has nothing to do with your child. It's about what you believe is right. Your child believes that they need a phone so they can stay in touch with their friends for a social life, which is important. Friends are so important, right? This is about your belief, not theirs. So you're then putting that belief structure onto them without their consent. You're enforcing that. So you can certainly give them a phone. You can certainly give them a phone and say, I just don't think it's safe. But then what you're able to do in the flexibility, should this come up, right? And again, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm merely sharing a point of view because again, as you grow up, a lot of the things that you believe in, a perspective will come into play where you're like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Right? That it will just happen as you grow up. It will just suddenly be like, yeah, that's a complication that does make sense, right? And I'll put it this way: when I was younger, I actually did say to myself, beating children is fine. Not beating them like beating them, but hitting them as a form of punishment. It's fine. We'll all end up okay. I don't see what's wrong with it. And then I literally did the research, looked up the actual studies that showed that beating a kid is it's not the worst thing, but it's not okay. It's psychologically harmful to your children. And why? And I was like, oh, well, I guess that's not going to be an option anymore. And then I realized I would just have to cancel that belief. I would just have to get rid of it because I don't want to do my child harm, right? And so it's giving yourself room to say, right now, I don't believe that young people should have a phone, right? Right now, I just don't believe they should. I think it's too young. It's not safe. It's not okay. What you want to be prepared for is for that belief slowly to evolve into an understanding as to why young people have phones, why they do. And it might be in some cases, honestly, it might be just parents are just like, I don't see the problem. I don't see the harm. Let them have a phone, whatever, right? That could be it. It could totally be it. But for some cases, there will be, in fact, hang on. Why would, let's actually look it up. Why would a young person need a mobile phone? Let's actually Google it and see what comes up. Why mobile phones are essential for teenagers. That's not necessarily it. Oh, this is kids and tweens. Okay, hang on then. Okay, here we go. One very good reason to get your kids a cell phone is that it's less likely you stay. It lets you stay in touch with them at almost all times. In addition to being practical, like when gymnastics lesson or a baseball practice lets out early, having a cell phone can help you easily get in touch with your kids in case of an emergency. This extra sense of security and safety that a cell phone provides is probably the key reason that parents should even consider getting their younger children a cell phone. And in case of a real tragedy, like a school shooting or terrorist attack, I mean, at least we don't have those, so a cell phone can be your only lifeline to your kids. A cell phone can also be an important way to keep in touch with your older teens, especially if they're driving. So again, you're not talking about older kids, like 12 years old, right? So hang on, what's the next part? Too much independence. Although the increased independence that a cell phone might offer a child can be good, it can also be a negative thing. So this speaks to what you're saying, right? Abby, this is what you're saying. Consider that with a cell phone, your child will simply have another way to communicate with the outside world that you will have little supervision over. A cell phone also gives the outside world another way to communicate with your child. So yes, you're looking at exactly the dangerous people on the internet who can communicate with them. And keep in mind that most of today's cell phones offer almost complete internet access and a wide array of apps that are much harder to filter and control as compared to your home computer. Cell phones may even be a distraction to kids. We all know that they are a distraction for drivers, but one study has also shown that cell phones can be a big distraction for kids crossing the street and could lead to more accidents. So yeah, you're absolutely right? Absolutely right. Depending on who you ask, a cell phone for your child might be considered a necessity, a luxury, a fad, or an invasion. Whether or not your child is ready for or needs a cell phone is something a parent will have to decide for themselves. So that's I think for you, Abby, it sounds like it would be a necessity, not a luxury. It wouldn't be like, oh, you're well done, you're 7, here's a phone. You know what I mean? Like, I know you wouldn't do that, and I wouldn't do that either. I would not give a child a phone of a luxury. until I felt that they were of the right age. But a necessity, absolutely. Other things to consider when getting your younger child a cell phone: a prepaid plan with a number of limited minutes, so that you won't face lots of extra charges. The ability, here we go, the ability to put strict limits on what the phone can do, including being able to turn off web access and text messaging. Some phones also let you limit who you can call and who your child can call using the cell phone. Only give the phone to your child when they really need it. And that's what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking, right? So, yeah, when they let out with their friends, I would absolutely be like, when you're at home, you don't need the phone. You don't need it. When you're at home, you don't need the phone. Not at all. It's not necessary. When you're out with your friends, yeah, then you have a phone. I'll give you the phone when you're out with your friends, but you bring that phone home with me. All right? If you don't bring the phone home, we're in trouble. Because then again, it's a limit of understanding the phone is not there as a leisure complex. It's not there as an entertainment format. It's not there as a leisurely luxury item. It is there for safety and emergencies only. That's why you have it. And I can instill that into the child as well. So here we go. I will also not allow child to go out at night. The reason why is because I watched this show where they followed ambulances, and one girl who was 12 was allowed out at 11 to 12 at night, and she ended up being attacked by older men and beaten up. Why would you let your child out? No. I'm not good with technology. You'll not be able to block this and limit. So that's fine. The company you get the phone from, Abby, would be able to help you do that. Right? Bear in mind, this is a necessity. If you absolutely had to, if you were put in a position where you absolutely had to, fair enough. But the company would absolutely walk you through that process. Like, for example, if you signed up with BT, they have a process. They have a process that they would take you through. If you specifically went into a store and said, "This phone is for my child. How can I make this child phone?" You wouldn't have to worry about it. It'd be fine. Sorry, Abyssal. There was a kid on the bus named Marina who, from my point of view, used it for playing on the bus and boasted about having a phone. Yeah, so that would be seen maybe. I mean, the thing is, they might have that phone, Abyssal, for emergencies. But of course, having a phone is seen as like a luxury item. Like, look at me, I've got a mobile phone. And, it's a shame that they feel that way. But hey, good for them. They've got a phone. Great. Wonderful. Who cares? They're happy they have a phone. Fantastic. Yeah. Doesn't matter. I don't know if it changes your life in any way, Abyssal. If it doesn't change your life in any way, right, Abyssal, I don't have any way to communicate with my friends from school because we weren't expecting this stuff to continue. That sucks. I mean, do you communicate via email or no? Well, I have any way at all. Nothing. Do you not like have Discord or like gaming, community places or anything like that? Do you not gather on Fortnite or Terraria or something like that? And boy, how do you stay in touch with your friends? And no, to speak to what you said there, Abby. I don't agree with letting kids out at that time at all. No, I think that's a really irresponsible move. Again, I'm actually trying to be really open-minded here. So I'm not. But no, I'm just going to say no. That's not appropriate. You don't let your child out that late alone. And in fact, my daughter, hell no. If it was my daughter, they need to be home 7:00 latest. If they're home by 7:01, so that's one rule I absolutely will enforce. I'd be like, you are not allowed out after this time. No way in hell. I'm not having it. No, it wouldn't be something I would absolutely play around with in the slightest. I know you. And I think it is the fear of that. I'm sure that the thing is, I'm sure there are a lot of areas, and this is the other thing I thought, there are a lot of areas in the country where 11 and 12-year-olds go out after night all the time. I don't think I was 11 or 12 at the time. I'm trying to remember if I was. I probably was around that age, and I was out past like 1 a.m. one time, but there was a group of us, and we were running around in our pajamas. And generally, it was a really safe area, generally. So it was fine. But I don't know. You don't know whether a place is truly safe or not until the circumstances come about. Do you know what I mean? So it's a risk that's not worth being taken. I think if you lived on a particularly enclosed area, well, there you go. See, I was going to say, if you lived in a particularly enclosed area and everyone knew each other, it was like a serious neighborhood thing where your neighbors, your neighbors and they know their neighbors and then I reckon that's fine, right? Because everyone's looking out for each other, right? There'd be this idea that if a child is seen outside at any point, then we can all say, I saw the child and that I was looking after them. I went up to them, asked them what they were doing, if they're okay. And there was a community effort around it. I feel like that's probably more acceptable. But if they go outside of that area, no, absolutely not. But that would take a massive community effort. That would be a huge community effort for that to be safe. But otherwise, hell no. I'm with you. Absolutely not. No. I mean, to be honest, even at 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, there are full grown adults who cannot walk certain places after dark. And I just that's why I think it's risky. I wouldn't let my partner walk around after dark at certain times of night. I wouldn't. It would be I'd feel so uncomfortable about it. No. Absolutely not. No. For sure. I hear you, yeah. Oh, you play with your friends and you try to be kind. That's good. Always try to be kind. Good stuff. Good stuff. I can't really. My tablet's 5-year-old. My friends don't play video games really. Oh, Abyssal, that's a shame. Well, you can be here. You can communicate with us, Abyssal. We'll be your friends until I stop doing this, because at some point I am going to have to stop doing this, which is such a shame. But make friends here, Abyssal. We'll be your friends until school gets back in session, man. We're here. We're all here. We're all in this together.